In 2017, a man named Charles Herman from Charleston, South Carolina, started obsessing over Bitcoin. He wasn't a trader. He wasn't a tech genius. He was a 29-year-old small business owner who saw headlines about people getting rich overnight. So he put in $4,000, and then he couldn't stop watching the charts. Every hour, every day, refreshing, checking, calculating. He thought he was investing. He had no idea that Bitcoin wasn't doing something to his wallet. It was doing something to his brain. Before we talk about the psychology, let's talk about what Bitcoin actually is, because most people think they understand it, but they don't really. Bitcoin is a digital currency. No government controls it. No bank backs it. It exists purely on a network of computers around the world, secured by mathematics, not by any institution. That sounds complicated, but here's the simple version. Imagine money that nobody owns, that nobody can print more of, that lives everywhere and nowhere at once. Now here's the question that psychologists and behavioral economists have been asking for over a decade. Why does something with no physical form, no government backing, and no guaranteed value make perfectly rational people lose their minds? The answer has almost nothing to do with Bitcoin, and almost everything to do with the human brain. In 2017, Bitcoin shot up from just $1,000 to nearly $20,000 in a matter of months. Think about that for a second. 20 times your money. In less than a year, the media ran headlines about Bitcoin millionaires. Reddit filled up with success stories. People who had never invested before were suddenly opening accounts to buy. And that is when the psychology kicks in. There is a concept called FOMO, fear of missing out. You've probably heard the term, but most people think of it as a mild social anxiety, a feeling you get when your friends go somewhere without you. In Bitcoin, FOMO becomes something else entirely. When the price starts rising fast, people feel this pressure to get in before it's too late, before they miss the profits, and that's where it spirals. Rising prices create more FOMO, and that FOMO pushes prices even higher. It feeds itself, a loop, and once you're inside it, thinking clearly becomes almost impossible. People weren't buying a technology. They were buying a lottery ticket to a new digital aristocracy. That line right there is the whole psychology of Bitcoin in one sentence. Nobody was asking, is this a good investment? They were asking, what if I'm the only one who misses this? Now here's where the real stories start, because this wasn't just happening to gamblers or reckless people, it was happening to engineers, teachers, parents, retirees. In the United States, Charles Herman, a 29-year-old small business owner from Charleston, became obsessed with virtual currencies. He said it felt like he had wasted 10 months of his life trying to play the markets. He later said, and this is the part that stays with me, I guess I thought we were sticking it to the man when I got on board. But I think the man had already caught on and had an exit strategy. Then there was a user on Reddit who talked about a large amount of money he had committed in December into cryptocurrencies, money that wasn't easy to walk away from, and it happened near the top of the market. He would now be paying it back with interest while watching the value of his investment collapse. And in South Korea and Japan, ordinary investors with little experience jumped in without hesitation. One woman said, I thought cryptocurrencies would be the one and only breakthrough for ordinary, hard-working people like us. I thought my family and I could escape hardship. It turned out to be the other way around. These are not stupid people. These are human beings whose brains were hijacked by one of the most powerful psychological forces there is, the fear of being left behind. Here's what's actually happening. Inside your brain, when Bitcoin starts climbing, when Bitcoin hits a new high, investors feel unstoppable. Behavioral economics calls the flip side the crash loss aversion, the tendency to fear losses more than we value gains. And in crypto, that effect gets amplified by how fast everything moves. Your brain isn't built for this. Human beings evolved to make decisions slowly, to assess risk carefully, to rely on the judgment of the group. Bitcoin breaks every single one of those systems. The crypto market never sleeps. It's alive, around the clock, reacting to global news, to a single tweet, to sudden shifts in regulation. And that creates a constant sense of urgency, like something is happening right now. And if you stop paying attention, you might miss it. A golden opportunity slipping away while you look away for a second. And that urgency, that constant low hum of anxiety, starts to rewire how you think. You stop asking, should I invest? You start asking, how much should I put in? That shift, that tiny shift in the question you're asking yourself, that's the moment Bitcoin has you. So here's where we are. Bitcoin pulls people in through FOMO, through the fear of being left behind, through that intoxicating story of ordinary people becoming extraordinary overnight. And it works for a while. In 2021, Bitcoin reached $69,000. Many retail investors rushed in, thinking they were on the path to easy gains, only to watch it drop by more than 50% over the months that followed. But here's the part nobody talks about. Even after the crash, even after heavy losses, most of them didn't sell. They held on. They kept believing. And I need you to sit with that for a second, because that decision to hold on after losing everything, that's not financial anymore. That's psychological. Something deeper, something that reveals more about human nature than any market ever could. Why do Bitcoin believers never give up? Why does losing everything make some people believe even harder? And what does that tell us about the way all of us think? Not just about money, but about identity, belonging, and the stories we tell ourselves to survive. That's exactly what part 2 is about, and I promise you, by the end of it, you won't look at your own decisions the same way again. If this video made you think, hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people, and subscribe, so part 2 comes straight to you the moment it drops, because trust me, part 2 is where it gets really interesting. I'll see you there.